Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is 7 sketchy things about Cancer, and the word sketchy is kind of an umbrella term for everything that is a shadow aspect of this sign. And I have done other signs ahead of Cancer, and I will do all of the zodiac signs. Obviously, this is not going to apply to all Cancer people, and I don't intend this to just be the sun. This could manifest in different Cancer placements, like the moon, the rising sign, Venus and Mars, Mercury. And it's meant to be entertaining, but also informative, because I will be giving a bit of advice for those dealing with these traits, or maybe you love someone that has these traits and trying to cope with it. Number 1, hypersensitive snowflakes. I've written down some keywords so that I could keep my thoughts together, and it's just kind of funny how I put down the different traits that I mentioned. These are the shadow aspects of Cancer. And I'm sure if I had tried hard enough, I could have found even more, but I wanted to limit it to 7 for each sign. So Cancer, being a water sign, is going to be sensitive, and being sensitive is a wonderful thing, because not only does it mean that the person really cares about life and about other people, but they also, there's the opposite of being sensitive is being insensitive, and being insensitive isn't a very good thing, because we could even say that's being callous. However, anything can be taken to an extreme, and with Cancer, there can be the tendency sometimes to take offense too easily. And this can lead the Cancer person, like for instance, if their rising sign is Cancer, they may be very reticent, very shy, and they may be very retiring, where they have a hard time opening up to other people, to kind of socializing. They might be very quiet, and they're always kind of maybe vigilant for any potential ridicule or things that, that feel insulting to them. But sometimes you and I both know that there are people out there that you have to walk on eggshells, and they take offense at just about everything or anything. So the shadow side, one of the aspects of the shadow side is being hypersensitive, which really means taking yourself too seriously and not understanding that other people's opinions do not define you. And if you don't identify with the superficial parts of yourself, and if you know who you really are, then these things are not going to be such a big deal to you. Even if you do know that you have certain traits that other people poke fun at, you can also see the humor in it and not feel like it's the end of the world if somebody disses you. And they may be just doing it in a gently teasing way, and you take it like it's just so terrible, when it's really not. Because if you're dealing with somebody like this who is a Cancer and you're getting exasperated, have a discussion with them and ask them, what's going on inside of them, because you may find out that maybe they were teased when they were growing up, and so they became hypersensitive as a result. Or maybe they will tell you that they will admit that they have very low self-esteem, and they take everything that is said to, about them as some kind of indictment against them. If you are a Cancer who identifies with this shadow aspect, Suck it up, Buttercup. Learn how to become much more resilient to any kind of insult. Learn how to laugh at yourself and not take yourself too seriously, because you will be a more pleasant person to be around. No one likes to hang with somebody who is, really paranoid and overly defensive about this kind of thing. Number 2, moody, wears heart on sleeve. Well, Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon, the inconstant moon, quoting Shakespeare, is inconstant. So the moon changes, and Cancer is a water sign, so their moods change, and the moon is about moods in the first place. So because Cancer is a water sign, obviously emotions are going to be a big part of what influences you in life, or what leads you, I should say, in life. Your emotional life really plays a central role. And water signs can parlay that into a creative occupation, because when you think of what is the source of inspiration, a lot of times it's memories and the emotions that we attach to these memories. And so there is a positive expression, self-expression related to emotions. But when people's emotions are a little bit too, it's not that they're erratic, I would say. It's just that they're too changeable. Something can be changeable without being erratic. It's just kind of like up and down, up and down. That's a good time to practice meditation and being on a spiritual path, because you learn equanimity, which is about maintaining an even keel emotionally. Cancer has to avoid really indulging in sentimentality all the time, because you are a very sentimental sign. And I love being sentimental, and I don't have one planet in Cancer. But the difference is that you know not to get carried away. Cancer loves the past. And I think Cancer overly idealizes the past. And it's very easy to get into those moods where, you think about the good old days and everything doesn't measure up to that. And that can make a person moody as well. So it's all about living in the present, not being reactive, and also trying to be as objective as possible in life. Number 3, hypochondriacs. I could have combined 2 of these, because being a hypochondriac is kind of like, I would say in more extreme cases, it might even be like an anxiety disorder, because the person is convinced that they may get some major illness, and they become overly concerned about their health. There's nothing wrong with taking precautions about your health, but you don't want to get into this habit where you're afraid, where you're fear-based. And so let me talk about something that is kind of connected to that. Yeah, that was number 7. So I won't even talk about, I'll pretend that number 7 is number 4. So number 3 is hypochondriacs, and number 4 will be too security conscious. And Cancer is a sign of, Capricorn is the sign of old age, but Cancer is the opposing sign of Capricorn. So in a lot of ways, they may have that in common, where they're thinking about their future and their financial security, and will they be okay? And so what happens when people are overly concerned about their future security? Well, the present gets neglected. We only have this present moment. Eckhart Tolle is really good at emphasizing the power of now, which is the name of one of his books, because that is all that we have. And, that cute little saying, that's why the past is history, the future is a mystery, and the present is a gift, and that's why they call it a present, or the present. And so the thing about it is that Cancer can be so busy feathering their nest for the future that they're not living their life now. And the other thing, too, is playing too small, of, staying in a job that you don't like because it pays well and you get benefits. And that's where the hypochondriac part comes in. You get all these health benefits. So then in case you get sick, you'll be able to pay all these hospital expenses or what have you. And there's like a fear-based mentality lurking in there somewhere. So that's not really, in my opinion, the way to go through life, is just preparing for potential calamities. I think that it's wise to be somewhat prepared for different scenarios, but not be too scared of potential situations arising that are challenging, to the point that you would tolerate a toxic work environment, boring work, your artistic talents, if that's what you're really passionate about and what you're really good at, for some kind of like a desk job that, may be a sure thing, but you go to work every day feeling uninspired, and you're starting to feel kind of like the life sucked out of you because you're somewhere that you don't want to be, and you're resisting it on a subtle level. Your soul wants expansion, and whenever people play small, they tend to get in a rut, and it's like the bird in the golden cage. The bird is still in the cage, even if it's golden. So, number 5 is clingy and smothering. Now, Cancer rules the 4th house of home and family, and the mother. So you put an S in front of mother and you get smothering. So when does mothering become smothering? Well, being overly protective of a child as it grows up, and you're supposed to give more freedom to your child as they get older. You're not supposed to treat a 15-year-old the way you treat a 3-year-old. And a Cancer, when they have children, they may have a difficult time seeing that they're growing up, that they are becoming more autonomous, independent. That's not necessarily what a Cancer wants to see, because they want to be that nurturing force in their children's lives. And so overprotection may be a way where they can feel powerful and important, and yet the child is disempowered by that. And you can smother your love partner. If being clingy is a form of smothering. Why do Cancers cling? Well, you think about that their animal is the crab, or their symbol is the crab, and crabs have claws. And they dig their claws into someone and they don't want to let go. There can be some emotional insecurity involved there, where they feel that they need this other person in order to kind of prop them up emotionally and make them feel safe in life. And another person can't really do that for us. They can definitely create a space where we feel safe emotionally to share and feel like that person's going to be there for us. But they can't erase, if you had a childhood that was less than stable, they can't do all of that. And I think that's another thing too, is that the clinginess can come from fear of abandonment. abandonment issues. And it seems to me, based upon what I've seen and possibly even read, that the water signs tend to have issues surrounding death, particularly of the father. So that can set the stage, or even if it's like the mother figure for certain other cancers, whoever is the one who dies, or maybe a grandparent that you really loved, that can set the stage for fear of abandonment, because especially when the child is experiencing this trauma, they don't have anything to go on. So to them, it's all like that person left. They don't really fully understand the concept of death because it's a quite abstract concept for a young child. So what I would say with some of these traits that are fear-based is that you have to cultivate, Cancer, a faith in life itself, in the universe, that the universe has your back. You have to develop a deep faith in this so that you're not vulnerable to individuals that are in your life, because we're all on different paths and we can't control another person. And actually, that last statement brings me to something. When I was compiling this list, I had something that I was going to write down, and then I forgot what it was, and now I remember, and I already have 7 things down. So I'll just kind of add to the clinging and smothering is the use of manipulation in order to try to control how other people act. I don't think there's a better guilt tripper than a Cancer individual. They can make people feel sorry for them. They can make people feel guilty forever, for being mad at them for something or whatever it is that they're trying to get their way about. And they do this because they do have a sympathetic nature, and they also know human nature. So they know how to kind of manipulate others masterfully, because they know human nature. They know people's emotional reactions and what they will be. And they may, if you're with a Cancer, they may really know what makes you tick emotionally and how to get to you. So you have to deal, if you're with a Cancer person and you are pretty self-aware, you'll know when they are manipulating you, and you have to call them out on it. Don't pretend that they're not doing what they're doing, and say, I know what you're doing and it's not going to work, and explain why you're not doing what they want you to do, and in a very matter-of-fact way. And hopefully they will get the memo and leave you alone about it. If you are a Cancer person who is tempted to manipulate people from time to time, remember that you don't want to strong-arm people. You don't want to trick them into, it's not really tricking, but you don't want to guilt trip people into doing your bidding, because then you're coercing them in some way, and that's not cool. We have to respect other people's wishes. When they don't want to do something, it's not okay to use a different tactic to get what you want. So I think this is number 6 now. I wrote fuddy-duddy, stick in the mud, wet blankets. That's a mouthful, isn't it? And what I mean by this is that I consider Cancer to be a traditional sign, which is perfectly fine. There's something about old-fashioned virtues and behavior that, you never want to lose that aspect of life where there are people that want to do things the way they've always been done, because it kind of gives a sense of continuity to our cultures. But the thing about it is, when I say fuddy-duddy, I'm talking about somebody who kind of like clings to the past once again, and they do not kind of update their views. It doesn't mean you have to change them, but at least be aware of how things are changing within society so that you are, so that you just have that new perspective. And when I say stick in the mud, wet blankets, Cancer tends to be, as I said, very security conscious. So they're not the kind of person to do something that may involve any risk whatsoever. But because they're hypochondriacs and because they're worrywarts, they may be afraid to ride a bicycle or to, go on a roller coaster. And they may just like play it too safe to the point where they've taken all of the risks out of their life, but they're not left with anything that seems exciting, seems different. I'm not talking about doing very risky behaviors, but they may be like extremely, or let me say it like this, overly serious. All business, no pleasure types of people. I would say the same thing about Capricorn. And of course, they're opposing signs, so they may have a lot of those same traits. If you're a Cancer person, again, try not to take yourself too seriously. Try to let your hair down. Try not to worry so much. Don't worry, be happy. This is number 7. Overly connected to family. The men can be mama's boys. And the women, both men and women, when you're overly connected to your family of origin, you can form an alliance. And actually, you can form an alliance with your family that makes it so that you are constantly getting advice, maybe from your mother, and she is trying to control your relationship. So in other words, if a Cancer person is involved in a relationship, there is the potential for her family to be overly involved in the relationship. And if you are married to a Cancer individual, then this may be something that threatens your marriage, is to have that family there, because you may not get the best in-laws. And the Cancer person will get along famously with any parents, whether it's their own parents or their in-laws. However, the opposite might not apply. If you're married to somebody who's a Cancer, you may find yourself on the outside looking in, and you're being ganged upon by these other people, by the wife and her family, or if you're a woman, by the Cancer man and his mother, because the Cancer man tends to be a mama's boy. And, men that are mama's boys, the mother may be somebody who is kind of trying to exploit that power she has over her Cancer son, because a lot of Cancer sons will worship their mothers because of that 4th house connection to the sign. And the mother knows this, and intuitively, she is aware that her son reveres her. And if she's not evolved, she will take advantage of that and perhaps be the wedge that comes between the man and his wife. And he has to be strong enough to stand up for his wife instead of his family. And a Cancer man may not have the guts to do that. And he may end up telling his wife she has to change. And that's probably not going to go over very well. So if you're a Cancer male, and you are a bit of a mama's boy, and you do acknowledge that your mother does seem to be quite interfering in your marriage, you have to be on your wife's side, and you have to make it clear to your mother that you will not tolerate any divisive behavior, that you will not be listening to her bad-mouthing your wife. Because if you take your mother's side in all of this, you might lose a good woman. In addition, your mother it's just like this manipulation for her. So you have to be very careful about that. And the other thing, too, is a Cancer person being an in-law from hell. Watching out from being that meddling, jealous mother-in-law who knows how to come in between her child and her child's spouse. That's the negative manifestation. The positive manifestation is really wanting to keep families intact and doing everything within your power to make sure that there's harmony within the family instead of divisiveness. Okay, well, I hope that everyone enjoyed this, and if you like this type of reading, this is how I read for astrological readings and the like. So please check out my website if you're interested, rainandmoonastrology.com. The link is below. Take care. Bye.